Hi, I'm Matthew Picton, and the title of my exhibition at the Elizabeth Leach Gallery is The Age of Carly, The Age of Belief. I came to being an artist by a slightly different route. I studied politics and history at the London School of Economics in London. During that time, I realized that I wanted to actually create something and make something. In a sense, at the time, I sort of rejected perhaps what I was doing. It seemed to me there was sort of greater freedom and expression and exploration to be had by creating artworks. 14 years ago or so, I started to come back round to the subject that I'd studied. I mean, previously I'd created these very map-based pieces, and I started to introduce the sort of history and politics and culture into the mapped format that I was making of various cities and their history. And as time went along, this has only grown to become a greater and greater component of what I actually do. So much so that I seem to have come full circle in a way. This particular body of work with the title The Age of Carly, The Age of Belief follows on from the previous three exhibits that I've done with the Elizabeth Leach Gallery: The Fall, El Dorado, and Eschatologies. And each one of them has been concerned with the fall of civilization, the fears of the end of civilization that permeate humanity. And so the current body of work has moved on one stage further and expanded upon that and introduced religion and belief into the idea of history. With this show, The Age of Carly, it's a time period that is loosely equatable to the period post Jesus Christ, so roughly 2000 years as a cycle, the Kali Yuga. It's the last of the four cycles of Hinduism. The current one is meant to be the age of destruction and discord. And certainly, as we sit here today, the fear of this has never been greater, seemingly at least. I think it's always been there. It was a sort of fatalistic obsession in the 16th century in particular, but as it is today, it's a sort of global concern. New Delhi number one is a piece that looks at the seven earlier cities of New Delhi. In the layer beneath the piece, there are images of the previous seven civilizations, and then the eighth civilization being the imposition of the British city, and the street network radiating concentric circle underneath the surface of the piece is the British imperial city, which the British saw as the capital of the empire. And right in the center, there's an image of the former viceroy's house, now called the Rashtrapati Bhavan, which is the Indian president's house, so it's still being used today. So with this sort of imperialist imposition upon the sprawl of New Delhi, you also had the existing earlier cities, which are a series of monuments and mausoleums and tombs and mosques scattered across the vast expanse of the megalopolis of some 20 plus million people today. All through this period, New Delhi has gone through enormous times of destruction, rebirth and regrowth, and new empires and new civilizations. So it seemed appropriate to term it the Age of Kali. And Kali as a goddess is about rebirth at the same time, and New Delhi has certainly had that too. On the surface of the piece, there's a multiplied image of a Hindu poster of Kali, which has been multiplied and then cut through with the sort of dramatic imagery of Jura, of the St. Michael slaying the dragon, also multiplied. That forms a sort of dual imagery going on at the same time on the surface. And this has also been combined with a turbulent landscape of stormy skies that have been put through the whole piece as well. These current works are very large. I mean, the subject's very large. The cities are large. The detail inside the forms I'm cutting through by hand, they have to be big enough for me to be able to actually physically cut them. If they're too delicate, it's just too tiny. The impact needs the scale. I experiment with materials. I mean, I've experimented with inks as backdrops. Sometimes there's poured components, sometimes there are burnt elements, there are smoked elements. And so I continue to add in different techniques and different backgrounds into a given work of art. And I mean, I suppose what I currently do is As I work on templates to start with, and the template involves a lot of splicing together, photocopying, enlarging, splicing more bits until I've got a sufficient working format to work from the top downwards. They're designed to be these sort of dynamic visual pieces, which have a beauty in their form and their pattern. But yes, they are commenting upon turbulence and destruction at the same time. And I think they tap into a long history of obsession and interest in visual art, and not just visual art, with mortality. And there have been works of great power, great beauty, and great savagery at the same time. And you can look back through any century and find works like that